Millions of people around the world enjoy the coffee on daily basis. But do we know that coffee can relate to blood pressure? If you're having a hypertension or a rise in blood pressure, the coffee use can lead to more of blood pressure. Now, that's a fact. Today I'm going to share 10 or 11 interesting facts with you regarding coffee. The first one being that immediately after taking coffee, there is a spike in blood pressure. So that usually lasts for 30 minutes or so, but after that, the second fact is that some of people over the period of time, they get the tolerance and this spike in blood pressure tends to go down, but in others, this tolerance may not be there. Then there is a sensitivity to the coffee. And this is also important because some of the people are slow metabolizers. They retain the coffee within their system for the longer period of time, and that leads to more of effects of coffee. And if you are having a hypertension or blood pressure, that may be the target of coffee in that sense. Along with that, an interesting fact that is brought to us by the research is decaf. Decaf has to some extent lower quantity of caffeine in it, and it tends to cause a lower rise of blood pressure. Along with that, a research says that up to 2 to 3 cups of coffee in a day are good. More than that, they are not so sure. So be careful if you're using more than 3 cups of coffee in a day. And genetic role is very important. The research says that genes play a major role in how a body responds to coffee. If you have a genetic predilection, you may be having a spiky rise in blood pressure. On the other hand, if your genes are relatively immune to it, you may not be having it. And if you compare coffee to tea, tea has much more flavonoids, and that leads to more of a sodium lost in the urine, and that tends to reduce the blood pressure. So if you are having a blood pressure, tea may be better than coffee. And along with that, a very routine question is, what about espresso? We have talked about decaf. Espresso is a wonderful coffee. We like it, everybody likes it, but it tends to have a very high content of caffeine in it, and that may lead to a higher potential to develop blood pressure. The second last thing that I want to catch on is that you should not be adding too much of sugar in the coffee, because that will lead to eventually more of the calories taken, weight gain, and eventually the blood pressure is going to get worse. The doctors generally advise that in general coffee is not too bad, but you should not be taking more than 3 cups of a coffee in a day. And the very last thing is an interesting fact. If the coffee is leading to a rise in blood pressure, then probably you should be taking it after the meals rather than before meals. That may help to curtail the spike of blood pressure that may be there with the use of coffee. Just go through all the list of these 11 points that I have made. If you are facing blood pressure, keep a note of it and do the things that you need to do. If you're taking coffee in appropriate amount, you're all good. But if you are having an uncontrolled blood pressure, then using a lot of coffee may be a very bad idea. I hope this video and the information bring value to your life. Thank you.